Gas prices are now at their highest level since 2008. AAA says the national average for a gallon of gas hit more than $4 over the weekend, with consumers paying 40 cents more than a week ago. Prices are skyrocketing as the Russian invasion of Ukraine continues. Visa, MasterCard, and American Express are cutting off service to Russia because of the country's invasion of Ukraine. Several Russian banks are planning to start issuing cards using the Chinese UnionPay card operating system. And following a wave of protests that started in 2020, financial companies work to address diversity and inequality when it comes to investment asset management. A polling from Morgan Stanley took a look at this issue and how entities are holding private sector asset owners accountable. Carla Harris joins me now to discuss what they found. She's a senior client advisor at Morgan Stanley. So when we talk about diversity and money, usually people think we're talking about diversifying their investments, but we're talking about the diversity of the people in these firms. And, you know, the finance industry, much like many industries, made a lot of pledges and promises about how they were going to try to diversify their staff. What did you find out?
Yes, thanks so much for having me, Anne-Marie. And we did a polling of asset owners, so these large public and private pension funds, and we found four things. Number one, many stated that the diversity-based approach is a priority, but almost 60% said that they still perceived a trade-off between focusing on diversity with their asset managers and the kind of returns that they might expect. The third thing we found is that public pension plans were in fact leading the way. And the fourth thing was that there needs to be a lot more accountability to make sure that this actually happens.
So they're saying that they're concerned that if they diversify their staff, they may not get the same level of returns. Are they basing that on anything?
It's not just the staff, Anne-Marie, it's the asset managers that they hire to manage the assets that they have under management. And this is a perception. If you go back about a decade, this was the same perception that also existed around investing with an environmental sense, that you couldn't do well by also doing good, was the statement that you heard 10 or 15 years ago. Now, obviously, that has changed given the focus on ESG, and I'm very optimistic that this will change as well, since the S is quickly becoming the D. But there isn't a lot of data out there, which is one of the remedies that we also talk about in the report. There needs to be more data because these managers are doing quite well, and the more data you put out in the marketplace, the more you will dissipate that argument, because those who don't get it, as you know, will hug the data.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. So then I guess the question is, you know, how do you keep asset owners accountable to their pledges? I mean, somebody like me, what I like about firms like this is I just hand over my money and someone else takes care of it. I don't have to look up to see, you know, who personally is managing my money. So how do we ensure that they continue to pursue diversity and inclusion if they said that that's what they're going to do?
Yeah, but I tell you, Anne-Marie, don't give up your power, because as somebody who is giving their money to someone to manage, you always have the power to ask the question. And that's some of the accountability that I'm talking about. How many diverse managers do you have on your staff? How many people of color do you have actually managing the money? Asking the question creates a lot of behavioral change. It's not the only thing, but it helps. But there's 5 remedies that we talked about in the report. Number 1, as I said earlier, publish the data. Number 2, have a standardized practice where everyone who is hiring a manager in your organization, make sure they are asking the question of that manager, how diverse is their investment staff? The other thing is be transparent about how many managers of color you have managing the assets that you have. Fourth, keep your consultants, keep them accountable, because the consultants are often the ones who are giving the list of managers to these asset owners. Make sure that they have a diverse list and elevate those inside and outside of the organization who are actually doing it right. And then tell the stories of the emerging managers that are doing a great job.
Carla, you know, all of that is great information, and it's actually not that hard to do. Just a little bit of an extra effort to make a big change and a big difference, which is what we need to see. Carla Harris, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Anne-Marie.